Hello again, friends, and you are my friends. And before we go into the introduction, I want to say a quick few words, because since we announced this show was going to be coming on, my phone has blown up with people asking me questions as to why and what and how and what have you. So I want to quickly put it to bed before we got going. So I think it's important to say that this is an absolute remarkable achievement, and one that needs commentary and applause. Regardless of where you've stood on the spectrum of Luke Chambers over the last 9-10 years. This is not me saying, or us saying as Talking Town, that he's been the second coming. However, you do not play this many games if you are a fraud. It's as simple as that. Have we spoken critically about him before? Absolutely. Will we do again? Possibly. Maybe even as close as this weekend. But you absolutely cannot let a player serve your club, wear your badge, and give as much as this man has given without some type of applause and recognition. So I've got some lovely messages from ex-pros, from guys on this network, and you guys are fans, and you're hopefully be joining us as we deep dive into this Luke Chambers look. That's the perfect time to cue the introduction, my friends. Hello again, friends, and there we go. Rich and Matt, you both join me, as will others throughout the evening.
That's one of my favourite away games. That was
Watford away.
Yeah, amazing.
Absolutely.
That was just incredible. Watching back, there's so many memories, and like you said in the intro, Martin, everyone's got an opinion. Why are we doing it? But it does need recognising, because you get someone who's been at the club for like 9 years. This is his 9th year. It doesn't happen nowadays. He's like in the Premier League, they'll go for the money, these players. But Luke Chambers, look, we've criticised him on here. I've criticised him on here.
We will again.
But you cannot deny the achievement that he's reached.
Yeah. Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. And there's still, I feel in the book of Chambers, Matt, there's still another chapter or two to be written.
Yeah, we didn't really know, did we? When we were doing our summer shows, we were thinking, how much would he feature this season? We started like Usain Bolt, hasn't he? Absolutely brilliant out of the blocks. Scored that fantastic goal at Blackpool. So he's almost like having an Indian summer a little bit with his town career, which is fantastic. The door opened, didn't it, when Kane Vincent-Young got injured? They've moved him over to the right back. Fantastic. Yeah.
I've got a new nickname for him, Matt.
Go on.
The Kettering Cafu.
Kettering Cafu. I mean, that's a bit, that's going a little bit too far. I almost did a "This is your lifestyle" intro with the red book and all of that. I decided against it because, as I say, I think there's still. I hope, as captain, there's still more chapters and there's still a trophy or two to be lifted. But it is a great, as I said at the start of the show, it's a great recognition of 9 years of service. Over 300 games, league appearances. I know Stat will shoot me if I don't say that. And it's as I said at the start of the show, if you are a fraud, as many times people have said, he's a fraud. You don't play that many games if you're a fraud.
So I've got a few stats here. 742 total appearances for Northampton, Notts Forest and Town, and counting. So he can add on that this season, and who knows?
Just look at who he's level with at the moment on this list. Jimmy Ledbetter, who was from the 50s and the 60s, played under Alf Ramsey. So that's who he's level with. So that tells you that these things don't come along very often.
But then he's 17th, Matt, on the all-time list, and by the end of the season, like if he's not injured and he plays in, you'd say he's going to play in the majority of the game. I think he'll go 9th, and that'll be on the all-time list of all-time appearances.
Wow. What an accomplishment. Fantastic. Well done, Lewis. Fantastic.
It is. A few comments on Facebook. We've got Ben Moore. He deserves recognition for what he has done for our club. I can see him becoming a coach at our club and I hope for many more first fist pumps when we are allowed back in the grounds. And Mike made a good point. And I wanted to I'm glad someone's made this point nice and early. So cheers, Mike. All very well, but in those 9 years, who's come in for him? Do you think if Luke Chambers at any point wanted away from this football club, he couldn't find a club?
Look, he could have gone
anywhere. Let's be honest. Anyone inside the top League One and Championship, probably bottom half of the Championship, but you're looking at some of those clubs, and they would have taken Luke Chambers.
Definitely.
Some of the players that have moved, you scratch your head, but he wouldn't have been a scratch of the head because he would have been he could do a job.
He nearly went back to Forest, didn't he?
Yeah. But I'll stand by, Matt, that he could have been a Premier League footballer. You know, that season, 14-15, we all know what happened. January, top of the league. And it was as close as we've been to getting back in the Premier League. And we were a million miles away from that now. But at that stage then, he was probably thinking, I'm going to be a Premier League footballer next season. And we were all dreaming that. And then obviously we know how it panned out. But I just feel sorry that the one regret I've got for him is when we played Man United in the League Cup at Old Trafford, you know.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
And I think that sort of, he wasn't very happy with that. Obviously, he wanted to play there. He's never played there, still never played there, you know, and we all know what team that we picked that night.
Well, yes, Peter Manachek in defence with Josh Shawworth. We've got Luke Penning coming on, and then we've got a few of our Chambers moments, if you like. But let's first of all kick things off with a word from somebody who's played with Luke Chambers himself.
I still remember sitting there now, my first day, you know, new club, and then this big arm comes around my neck like this, and, you know, Chamber appears over my shoulder and says, "Welcome to my club." Even though he'd only been there a couple of days before me, but I'm guessing that statement is true now. It definitely is your club, mate. What you've gone on to do in these last 8 years has been unbelievable, but not unexpected. I think it's fair to say we all knew what you were like around the place and on the pitch as well as off it. A true professional, a true captain and a real good leader. You were great with me, and you can't speak enough about you highly to anybody, and I think your record speaks for itself. I have no doubt that you'll probably go on to get top 5, and this is just another benchmark in your career which you keep surpassing. All the best.
It's interesting to know there that Scott Loach is a Friends fan. He's watching Friends in the background. But just want to quickly point that out. But, I mean, those are good words, you know. It almost shows his leadership qualities off the bat, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting there because he says Scott Loach there said he'd only been there 2 days before him. I was looking at the list of players that came in that season, that 2012-2013 season. I think it was like 25 new faces came in, and maybe even a little bit more with loans and things. So it's amazing to think that Chambers is still.
We had a lot of loans. I think we had a lot of loans that season, didn't we, Matt? I think
Patrick Kisnorbo coming from Leeds. Yeah. So, I mean, listen, that's going back 8-9 years, and Scott Loach still speaks so highly of him. So it's fantastic to hear, isn't it?
Absolutely. Welcome in, Luke. Hope you're well, mate.
Hi, Luke.
What are your thoughts about Luke Chambers, Luke?
I agree. I echo a lot of what every fan's saying. You know, whenever a player ending into your top 10 appearance makers, you know, it's not a mean feat. You know, it's something that, you know, any player that comes and plays for your club, if they get into the top 10 appearance makers, that's something to be, you know, appreciated. You know, it shows the loyalty to our club. You know, some players, you know, whether it be anyone, then sometimes they don't have loyalty to their clubs, but having someone who's been there for 10 years, you know, obviously against him in the fact that, you know, he hasn't really had much success during that time, but, you know, he's been a constant. He's been there through relegations, through playoffs and that sort of thing. He's been a player that has been a constant, and, you know, you always need that, you know, no matter how good or bad you're playing, it's always good to have someone, you know, that's playing constantly. I think for me, in terms of a memory that I've had of him, is when he was playing. Well, I had a lot of memories of Luke Chambers, like any of us as Ipswich Town fans. But for me personally, I think when I didn't really get into football until that late. Actually, I don't know why, but I remember when I was at school, I think year 9, our English teacher gave us tickets to like watch Ipswich Town games for free. That's kind of, well, I was going before then anyway, but I ended up going to a game between Ipswich Town and Birmingham. I think it was the 2013. And I think that was the first season that when Mick took us in charge, and obviously, he steered us away from relegation. I remember then Luke Chambers like popping up with a header, and there was always something that I looked forward to seeing, whether that be, and the fact that when I was younger, I used to like seeing him do his fist pump and that kind of thing. Obviously, in the last couple of years, I think, there's a lot of recent performances where, fans have had good moments of him. You think of the header against Norwich and obviously Peterborough in recent times. But, yeah, I think he's a player that, in a way, goes a bit underappreciated from Town fans, in the way that, we can criticise him as we're allowed to criticise any player. But when a player reaches the milestone that he has, it's nice to spend a day or a couple of an hour or a couple of minutes just talking about him. And yeah, I think he's a player that, when he finally does retire and go, I think it's a player that we'll miss, and it'll be a void that'll be hard to fill.
Yeah. I agree.
Absolutely.
I was thinking before you came on air, I was thinking to myself, he probably is a player that is underappreciated. We probably do take him for granted, which is probably one of the reasons why he got another contract, because, his skill level might be replaceable, but his presence and what he brings to the dressing room and the day-to-day on the training ground, that's probably very difficult to replace.
Luke's spot on there. He's a constant, isn't he? Through the ups, a lot of downs. We've had a lot of downs when Luke's been at the club, but he's that one constant. He's the heartbeat, I'd say, of Ipswich Town.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll see you tomorrow. Luke, I know you're watching the Sky Bet Championship game this evening, and you jumped on just to help us out, and I do appreciate you doing that. We'll see you tomorrow at 2:30 for the match day ticket. I do agree with you there, Cruncher. But what I would say is, while I was researching this program, if you like, I was your typical fan. I didn't quite appreciate what Luke Chambers did or did not do. But the more I researched it, and the more I asked myself why I wasn't necessarily a Chambers fan, and then when people were messaging me, as I said last night and the day before, and saying, how could you be doing this or whatever? And I was saying, okay, well, what about Luke Chambers do you not particularly like? And they would list off these things, and none of them Luke Chambers had any control over. None of them. He didn't sell Martin Waghorn. He didn't have a poor recruitment drive in the summer under Paul Hurst. He hasn't dealt with negotiations of contracts. All of these different things which people threw out about the club as a whole, he had no control over. It wasn't him. All he did was do the one thing we always ask as fans: play for the badge. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought there's not one player more or anybody else I could say that's done it more than Luke Chambers.
You look at every manager, Martin, who's came in.
Yeah.
He's been captain under everyone. He was captain at Northampton, as well. Went to Forest. So you don't play that, like you said, you don't play that number of games. No, of course he's going to play over 800 games.
Exactly.
So he might not be the best. He might not be the best player, but he believes in this. He plays for this.
Yeah.
It's what we all like. It's what we want.
Yeah, and he is the emotional leader of that group.
Yeah.
I've been to, as I'm sure you have, Mr. Moss, player awards evenings, and you can just see the group, any group from any year, no matter how many lone players, whatever. He is, as Scott said at the start of the show, arm round, straight away, welcome to my club. And that was in the early days. Now imagine it 9 years later. He is the emotional leader.
I went to the Player of the Year awards when we were relegated, and he got Player of the Year that year, and you could see how much it hurt him. And it really did. And you think, look, it's hurting us as fans, but people say players don't care. I tell you what, Luke Chambers cares about Ipswich Town Football Club.
That's why I always find it, when Biakowski did that interview with the EADT, and he said, the players accepted relegation in October. I find it really difficult to think that Luke Chambers would accept relegation in October. Do you know what I mean? That's never been kind of enhanced on, is it? But he'd never been relegated up to that point, had he? I remember him saying in an interview himself, I don't have a relegation on my CV and I don't plan on having one. which again showed that fighting spirit. Unfortunately, it wasn't to come to fruition, but he's that kind of character.
Yes, absolutely. And it's funny you should mention that because I have, or Rich that was rather, sorry, because I have got his interview with the club today. And then we'll bring Amy on directly after this interview. Amy Downs, that is, after this one.
It's something I never really pictured when I first joined, but no, I think everyone knows how much I feel towards the club and what I try and do. But yeah, it's not been a successful period in the last few years, but I feel that I've brought quite a lot to the football club, and at the end of the day, it's something that no one can really take away from me. It's something I'll try and strive to make even more appearances, and if people look back on my time at the club and look on it fondly, hopefully, and I've had a part to play in the history of the club, but to be up there with some of the names of those legends, I don't think we'll ever see some of those people again. So yeah, to be in and around those names is fantastic.
Amy, welcome in. The first question I want to bring to you really is, you used one of your favourite words there, legend. And this isn't a Hall of Fame programme. That will come in at the end of his career. He is a legend at this club, isn't he?
I believe so, yeah, I do. I think he is someone that we will remember from this era. Of course, he's not, your Matty Holland, your Johnny Walk. Of course, he's not ever going to be on that same level because of the success we had under those players. But for this era, this horrendous 20 years that we've had under Evans, Luke Chambers has been, as you guys have just said, he's been the consistent, he's been the one that's kept going. Sorry, but if I was him after the grief he's had from our fans, I'd have gone a long time ago. But he loves the club and he wants to be here. And it isn't all our fans, but people are a bit hard on him, aren't they? And I don't know if it's just because he's there every game.
Yeah, I think there's a quote, and I said it to you, got two guys in the WhatsApp group, and I think it's very much a Luke Chambers quote for this, really is. You either die, and obviously replace the word die with leave. You either leave a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And you think of all the players that have come and gone, and I could list any number of players, and they'd all be cult heroes without doing anything at the football club.
It's like Jonathan Parr, you mentioned him in the WhatsApp conversation. And Matt, I know, Matt, you liked him. You want more Scandinavians, but what did he actually do? What did he actually do for our football club?
He scored at Millwall away. That's probably his only crowning achievement. But yeah, if you speak about Johnny Parr, it's always, great player. Now, had Chambers left after the playoff year, the same thing would have been said now. But because it's been declining from there, not his fault, he didn't do any recruitment, as I said earlier, he is now long enough to be not the hero, and long enough to be the reason why, and it's all his fault, and all these different things. I disagree with all of those things. Like when Daryl Murphy was knocking in the goals, it wasn't all Daryl Murphy. You had someone to pass the ball to him, but it's always Murphy was the hero of that season.
Remembered.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's an interesting thing, and I think fans don't see it in that context. And I certainly didn't. I was guilty until this programme, until I was researching what I needed to say and do for this programme. And the more I thought about it, the more I felt, well, he didn't sell Martin Waghorn. It wasn't his.
I was reading an article the other day from a Plymouth Argyle blogger, because I've got like news alerts set up for Ipswich Town, so I quite often see what other people are writing about us. And he was talking about like what a great start to the season we've had, comparing it to last year. But the player that he kept mentioning as being the one to like watch, the one that would be like a problem for whoever we play against, was Luke Chambers. Everybody, potentially other than our own fan base, have got such respect for him. You speak to any Nottingham Forest fan, they love him, absolutely love him.
Yeah, because again, he's left early enough to be the hero. Still.
True.
And I just wonder, in today's modern society with Twitter and whatnot, Rich and Matt, maybe some of those names on that list wouldn't have been seen in the then times of their career necessarily the way they were then. Do you know what I mean? Because back then it was far easier to be shielded, I suppose.
I was looking back on those of the days yesterday in preparation for tonight and looked up the article where he signed. And it said Ipswich Town signed Nottingham Forest free agent Luke Chambers, and there he was looking fresh face with the shirt and all that kind of thing. Who would have thought that from that moment would lead 8-9 years down the line to where we are now, and talking about him being in that top 10? Unbelievable, really. I'm thinking to myself, who is Luke Chambers almost? Do you know what I mean?
You don't expect it. When's the last testimonial that we had in English football?
English football.
Man United like a testimonial, don't they?
But when was the last time?
Yeah.
When was the last time you can sit here honestly and say, "I remember that"? It was only, a couple of years ago. It was, whoever.
Yeah.
I think it was
yeah,
Carragher, the last one I can remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, one-man clubs. Not, I know he's not a one-man club, but people who stay at a club long enough to have a testimonial, as Statman on Twitter earlier suggested,
Yeah.
it doesn't happen anymore.
Who had the last Ipswich testimonial? It was a
Was
man.
it Richard Naylor?
Naylor, Wilness had one.
DeVos? No, not
Stockwell
enough.
had one.
Ricky Stockwell had one.
Frank Yallop had one.
Yeah.
Fabian Williams had one.
Yeah, Fabian. They're few and
Fabian
far
Williams.
Oh, yeah.
Fabian Williams.
Nick,
He's a good player, wasn't
Nick, that's an own goal, Nick. Adam Flatt's got one here. KVY has only played 9 games, and suddenly the best thing since Brazil's 1970 side. Chamber deserves so much more respect, and I think that's actually nicely neated up.
He made a lot of impact, didn't he, Kane? He made a lot of impact coming in at a hard time when we've just gone down into League One. So he gave us all hope again, didn't he? With his performances. We haven't seen him since, unfortunately.
So, Amy, you've got a Chambers. If I ask you to say Luke Chambers and what moment sticks out to you, you said you had one. Which one was it as we let you go enjoy your Friday night?
Footballing wise, I wasn't there, but the equaliser against Peterborough has got to be the first memory that jumps out. It has just the sheer joy that he had for getting that goal. It's one of those games I will forever regret not being there, but I think I might have been pregnant. So it's probably a good thing that I didn't go and end up in that away end that day.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
In fact, I think I was nearly due. So I was like, I really can't go down to Peterborough because I'm like a week off being due. And actually, if I'd have been celebrating a last minute goal, I don't think I'd have made it back to Leeds to have the baby. But for me, the memories of Luke Chambers will be things like being at Dusseldorf in the friendly that we had with them a few years ago, and he like had a drink with us all and chatted with us, and he like non-stop for the whole evening was chatting with Ipswich fans. He was lovely, and he does it after every game. He chats for hours with the kids and anybody who's there. And then the other thing I did want to say just quickly was the fact that he stood up to Hurst. It was him coming out that made, like, I can't remember if he did a public interview or whether we just found out later that he'd gone in to speak to Evans, was it, about Hurst? And the fact that he was like, sorry, say again.
I think you're right. Yeah. Didn't he go in and see him or called him up or he did something?
He did. Yeah, I'm sure. I think so. I should have double checked before I come on the show. I'm shattered. It's the end of a very long half term. So for me, that's just one other example of him being Mr. Ipswich. He could see that this person was completely destroying the club. He managed in a couple of months to completely undo all the good Mick McCarthy.
I disagree. I disagree a little bit there. I know he's the captain, but Hurst was the manager, and he was trying to change the culture. And I don't think he was just the problem. It was Chris Doig, his assistant Matt, got a lot of flack, didn't he? But I think Chambers played. Did he play with him at Forest? Didn't he, Chris Doig? I think they played together. Yeah, I think they did.
Yeah, good point. Maybe there was history there. We don't know. We can only
potentially. Right, totally get that point of view, but for me, that's what we needed. For me, he did that because he wanted to stand up for the players and the club, and he was also proven to be right as well, because thank God we got rid of Paul Hurst. So
it's gone well since then, isn't it, Amy? Though.
Well, let's not talk about that. I'll tell you what, I have got the Peterborough moment, Amy. So enjoy this, and we will speak to you again very soon.
See you soon, chaps.
Cheers, Amy.
Yeah, see you, Amy.
El Mazzuni on this corner kick. Wouldn't it just be like Ipswich Town? And it comes to the header, and it's in! It's on the near post, and it looks like it's Chambers! Across come the Ipswich Town players, and the captain might just have rescued them a point.
Hi, Steve here from the F1 Fan Show. Congratulations to Luke Chambers for breaking into the top 10 of the all-time ITFC appearances. No mean feat, considering how many people have obviously played for the club over the years, and his service to the club and love for the club is obviously second to none. So congratulations, Luke Chambers. I think in terms of favourite moments, one that always sticks out in my mind is the goal he scored late on against Norwich to put us 1-0 up. Unfortunately, I think we all know how that game ended, but that's one that'll always stick out in my mind. But congratulations, Chambo.
Hi guys, can I send a message to Luke Chambers? Big congratulations on him becoming the 10th all-time appearances for Ipswich. Just nick him my place, just one above me now. So congratulations, Luke, and hope it goes well for the future and this season. And also playing very, very well now. So congratulations, mate. You deserve it, and keep it going. Cheers, Jason.
Mr. Jason, there. I won't say the surname.
Legend.
I won't say the surname. And Steve there. Someone's put sugar in Steve's coffee this afternoon. But I saw that video. It was very fast. I think he thought he was on a word count. Bless him. So we've picked out a couple of moments as well that we feel sum up Chambers. And the time here. Amy's one was Peterborough, and I was there. I mean, your captain comes up big in big moments, they say, and that none bigger there last season. Really, obviously, we know where it ended, but at the time,
it does show how far we've fallen, though, when we're celebrating the last 94th minute equaliser at Peterborough. I was there that day. It was.
Yeah.
Look, it's a great moment when you score in the last minute. I know we got a point that day, felt like a win, and it was fitting that he scored the goal.
The club has fallen, and no one's pretending that. And this show's not here trying to paper over those cracks and do the PR job of the football club for it. We've fallen, simple as that. But as I've said, he didn't bring in, say, Holy and sell Bar. He didn't do any of those sort of things that map the journey of a football club. You know, as a fan, I feel we've only got one job, and that is to ask players to play for that badge, Rich. Play for that badge. 100%. And he does that, and he does that, and he epitomises really what a fan is on the field, doesn't he? Mr. Passion, Mr. Meatball, if you like. You know, it's 110%.
The alpha male, as you call him, Martin.
The alpha.
I tell you what it reminds me of. We often hear, don't we, people, fans ourselves, even saying, if I only had one chance to play for Ipswich, I'd give 100%. I'll be up and down that pitch. I'll be putting them tackles in. Actually, that's how Luke Chambers actually plays. I think he embodies how we feel we would act if we was wearing the blue shirt at the time. You know?
Yeah, and I just think, we've had something like nearly 80 transfers into the club since he arrived, and not one manager out of 4/5 has really moved to replace him. Like, not one. They might have moved him from centre half to right back and right back to centre half, and used his ability to play both positions to do different things in the market. But no one's really at any time gone and got. I mean, look at left back, for example. We've had so many left backs, but we've replaced them every single time. Jordan Spence came in, but that allowed him to move inside. Look, no one's really gone out of their way. And let's face it, in football, managers these days are on survival instinct, survival mode pretty quickly. You move to play the strongest team, and
they want him in the team. They want him in the team. So Tommy Smith-Bearer, so where did that leave Chambers? They stuck him to right back. They wanted him in there. They wanted him in that 11.
And that's arguably been his best position, though, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, you always said it in the summer. You thought he was probably better. And we've seen that this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, so Rich, what's yours?
Well, obviously Norwich is...
yeah. Should we show it?
Yeah, go on. And then we'll chat about what...
Yeah, I've got it. Where is it? Where is it on my list? Oh, there it is. There's something about a roar of a crowd. Do you know what I mean? It's getting me going. I've not heard it in such a long time. That should have been his moment.
Yeah, it's the way that ball hits the net, and then he runs to the corner flag and screams, and they're all sat there, thinking, "Oh no!" Look, and then for 2 or 3 minutes, it was. Cause I was there. I was right next to their fans. I'm thinking, yes, after 2009, the last time we beat them, we thought, look, finally, and then look, we all know what happened with the goal with Mick Foxtrot off Oscar, but it wasn't aimed at us, and then obviously what happened with their equaliser, and that was a ground, please swallow me up moment, because it should have been. That would have been his top moment, Martin, as Ipswich Town. Scoring the winner at Norwich. It had to be. It was fitting that it was him that scored that goal, but it was just a pity that the gloss was taken off of it. Really.
Yeah, it wasn't quite the fairy tale we wanted, was it?
More so because of what happened from the dugout.
Yeah.
Like even at 1-1, you could look back and think, he scored a goal at Norwich. If it weren't for a cock-up at the back, it could have been. But instead, you don't look back at the cock-up. You look back at one thing in particular.
Yeah. Again, a moment stolen. Can you imagine Klopp doing that to the Liverpool fans? It's like mental. Just got glossed over, didn't it? Just got glossed over. What
was your clip then?
My one?
No, Rich's. It wasn't his clip, was it, Norwich? I thought it was something else.
No, it was... I did send it to you. My son, Ollie, being
Oh,
Look,
yeah.
we've all, as a kid growing up, I was part of the Junior Blues. Never got that letter through the post saying you've been picked to be mascot. So when he got picked in 2015, I received it before Christmas. It was like all three of my boys had done it, but it was a real to see him lead out the team on his, because like when you're at home now, they have, I think it's about 11 mascots, Matt. I think they have now. Like a player has everyone, but when you go away, you've got one mascot, and to get to him. For him to lead the team out with Chambo that day, we were flying high. We went in the dressing room, program signed and all that. 3-1 win, and it was fantastic. It was a great day.
It was, but actually about the Junior Blues, he's a good role model, isn't he, for kids?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, 100%. We've
Without,
been speaking a lot about role models recently. He's definitely one. Yeah.
But it was like I've sent you the I've got a few on my phone. There was the one at Brighton, the clip at Brighton when we went away, and you spend all the hours on the road getting there. It was a night game. The three boys came. We won 1-0, and then to see their faces, it was like he's coming over to do the fist bump, and we're all doing, ooh, and then he comes over, and it was. It's moments like that make all the miles you put in, the hours you put in, and for him to reckon, people say, "Oh yeah, the fist bump," but it meant something, didn't it?
Yeah,
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the fist bump. I think it's great. It kind of again goes back to that embodies kind of hope and aspiration, and we might get out of League One, or we might have got out of the Championship, and gone on to better things. It gives you that hope for the season. I think it's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, I've always been more critical of people who have been I've been sitting in a pub with people who before the game haven't been pleased that his inclusion on the team sheet, and then after the game we've won and he may have scored the winning goal, whatever, they're going, oh,
yeah, you're giving it a big one, aren't they?
Yeah.
I've always not liked that sort of hypocrisy, from that. If you're not going to like him, then fine, walk out into the game. But if you are going to do the whole go with it and be it all the way.
We've said it before on the show, haven't we? We haven't had any success in 20 years to unite everybody. And that is a moment that unites Portman Road, or if we're away, the away following, after a win. So it's great.
Absolutely. But I just like the fact he's a role model, and in 9 years I've not heard a whisper off the top of my head of anything that would suggest I wouldn't want my son growing up looking up, having posters of him on the wall, because he's a good role model. He's somebody who embodies club first.
Look what he does for the youngsters at the club.
Yeah,
he's got an annex at his house. They live there, so you don't get many players doing that, do you?
No,
absolutely not.
Selfless, actually.
I saw him in B&Q once. He was mobbed by people. He took the time to speak to him though. I went one of them. Sorry, Luke. Sorry. There's a few lines that I do not cross. Right, Matt, what's yours, Matt?
I thought long and hard about this, but we've just come out of this. Well, we're still in it, aren't we? Still in this pandemic. We had all those months without football. The game returns. We can't go to the matches. We go away from home to Blackpool. And he sends in that absolute thunder rocket. And as Rich said, if that had been scored in the Premier League on Sky Football or on Match of the Day with a led Sky Sports News, absolute fantastic strike. Because a lot of his goals have been headers, haven't they? But I mean, that was some hit. Absolutely fantastic. I just leapt off the sofa, head nearly on the ceiling, which is a long jump for me, let me tell you. I thought it was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So if you've got that, roll VT mine. Brilliant.
I have. Before that, I'll just show this man here, and then I'll roll the goal for you as well.
Martin calls me the hammer, but there won't be any hammer dropping on Chambers this evening. Obviously, I've moaned about him in the past. Sunderland at home sticks to my mind, but you can't fault his accolades, and he's in the top 10 appearances for the club now. So, in my eyes, he's been a good servant to the club, loyal to the club. I mean, he come here under Jewel, and then Mick, Hurst, Lambert. He's seen 4 managers here. He's stuck them all out. He's still here, so you can't fault his passion for the town, for the club, and also his loyalty and the character that he brings. He's a leader among men. We've seen that plenty of times. It's just a shame that we can't see that fist pump after a win, especially the wins that we've been having this season at home. We haven't been able to experience that, unfortunately. But hopefully we'll be allowed back in the ground by the end of the season, and hopefully we'll still be in the top 2 by then, top 6, even first, and we'll be able to celebrate a win, our first win back in the ground with Chambers giving us a fist bump. So here's to Chambers. Long may it continue, and yeah, up the town.
Dazelle along the floor up towards Hawkins. Hawkins giving the ball back to Hughes. Wide on the left is Edwards. Judges in the centre. Edwards gets away from Gabriel. Great run into the box. Plays it into the middle. It's gone all the way to Chambers, who shoots. Oh, fabulous goal. What a strike from Luke Chambers. Belted it in off his right foot from 16 yards. Just about took the net away.
I mean, you see guys like that, and the first thing, Luke's got no quality. It's like, yes, he bloody has.
It's the Kettering Cafu, Matt, I'll tell you.
Kettering Cafu, I'm Warmington. I love how that ball curls through the air.
Al Witzer.
It was. Curls through the air, doesn't it? Fantastic.
Right.
Fantastic.
To round up quickly, because it's Friday night and the kids are in bed. I've lost my train of thought now. Chambers. My moment. Chambers. Doncaster at home, 2013. Don't know why it sticks in my mind. Don't know why. If I think of Luke Chambers, I think of this moment, but I do. It's right in front of me as I sit in the cobble stand. And actually, if you look back at that part of the season, I think it sticks out because it was before the playoff year. We finished 9th in this season, and it was coming into a run of games where we had Watford directly after this one, and I think we lost 2-0, and it kind of extinguished
3-1 away.
And it kind of extinguished.
Because we beat Derby, didn't we? We beat Derby when Johnny Williams scored on the night in Berra. And then I think we drew with
Forest 1-1. Got beat by Blackburn 2-0 at Ewood.
Yeah.
And then beat Huddersfield at home. And then Doncaster was 3 days later. So the 8th of April and the 12th of April. 4 days later, I do apologise.
Easter time. Must have been Easter then, yeah?
It was. And this was obviously, to make the playoffs, you've got to start sort of winning out, and we needed to get a win. And I think we may have even gone a goal behind in this game. I'm not quite sure, but it sticks out. And then obviously after that, we went to Watford, and Say La Vie, and the rest is history. I mean, that Watford game, Luke Heim hit the bar, by the way. That's still.
I think Anthony Wordsworth scored that day, Martin.
Yes, he did. You're absolutely right. Yes, he did. You've got a mind. But yes, the Doncaster game, we were a goal down. No, we weren't. They equalised in the 83rd minute. But yes, the Luke Chambers goal sticks in my mind from that. I'll play that, and then we'll lead out on game, recognising game, and you'll know exactly what I mean when I say that. So, or when you see it. So here we go.
Really positive run going forward. Play back towards Williams, it deflects across, and Chambers arriving! Great finish! And that could be the goal that wins it for Ipswich,
Hi there, Matt Holland here. Just finished my gym session in preparation for tomorrow's game. Just wanted to send Luke Chambers a message of congratulations for getting into the top 10 appearance makers in the league now for Ipswich Town. From one skip to another, well done mate, it takes some doing. To stay at one club that long in this modern era, I think deserves recognition, deserves congratulating. I think you've shown great leadership in difficult times, and you've been a great servant for Ipswich Town, and I'm sure a future Hall of Famer. It'd be nice this season if you can round it off, get us promoted back into the Championship. So once again, well done Luke, and keep it going.